Interpreter, that's a lady at the bottom right of your screen, is Susan Tuku. Well, remember, it's a Monday and our focus is usually on sport, conversations around policy, activity, and the people who make them and live all that is sport. And this morning, we will be looking back at part of what we gave you over the weekend. You know, KBC, as the FA Cup broadcaster, did give you the FA Cup semi-finals, and we've seen Chelsea and Arsenal, the London clubs, making it. We'll be looking at that with Gregory Mlemi. Last week, we got the news of a 1.2 billion sponsorship deal for the Kenyan Premier League. What does it portend? We're not breaking it down, but how do you extract value from your property as a sports body, as an athlete, or even overall as a rights holder? And also, some good news that came in last week. 2015 world champion in the javelin throw, Julius Yego, was elected as a male athlete representative for Africa for the Athlete Association. This is an independent body, and it is by athletes only, for athletes. And this is, you know, what would I say, outside of the IAAF, or World Athletics Commission for Athletes. We've got Julius Yego, who is joining us now via Zoom from Eldoret. A very good morning to you, Julius.
Good morning, Wahome.
Very well. I'm very happy to see you today, and first of all, congratulations, together with Ivorian sprinter Marie-Josée Talu, who was also elected as a female representative for this body. First of all, your feeling of getting, you know, to being given this huge task of representing African athletes.
Thank you, Wahome. Of course, I'm humble and, much appreciation for that. Being elected as a representative for Africa, I know in a global association, it's not a small thing. I know it comes up with many challenges, but I'll strive my best. I've come through ups and downs in my life of sport, and I think I'm up to the task. So I want to say thank you to the Athlete Association under the leadership of Christian Taylor and Emma Coburn.
One of the things that the Athletics Association wants to do has got to start with lobbying World Athletics and the Diamond League stakeholders regarding the changes to the schedule that was announced for 2020. Not much happening, but first of all, for you as an athlete, your event was still in the Diamond League. But what was the feeling of athletes when it came to the Diamond League and the Continental Tour?
Oh yeah, yes. Of course, yes, my event is still in the Diamond League, but many of the events, the very, unique events, very events that have many fans across the world, have been scrapped from the Diamond League. Look at the steeplechase, look at the 5,000 meters, look at the 200 meters. All of them are not in the Diamond League, and even also the triple jump, which has many athletes from, should we say, from American side. And it was a blow to the athletes, many athletes, that these events will no longer be staged in the Diamond League. And this one prompted us again to come up and say, we told the World Athletics, it was IAF by then, that this was not the right move. And after all, no athlete were involved when this plan was made, that some of these events had to be removed. I remember when during the athlete seminar in Eldoret, I think, I raised my voice that, it was not the right move, that some of the events that Kenya, and then we should be ashamed to ourselves that some of the events that were scrapped from the Diamond League has many athletes from Kenya, and we kept quiet. I don't know, of course, maybe Athletics Kenya made a formal, complaint, but we didn't. If I'm not wrong, we didn't hear them coming up and say, no, we don't like this. Maybe they wrote emails or make phone calls, but athletes, they were really shocked that our federations are not coming up seriously and saying and protesting against this. I remember, I locked horns with Athletics senior management. I came to learn later that people were not happy when I say that. Why is it that we don't see our federation coming up and say steeplechase is no longer there, which is a Kenyan traditional event? That is like, we should, if there was a way that we could put this one in our national shirt. This is our event, and coming and saying 2020, it belongs is a blow to athletics.
All right. And so, as the Athletics Association, because, for example, I can look at the body's president, Christian Taylor, as a long jumper, he has been heavily affected. He's not going to be in the Diamond League. He's a Continental Tour event. So what are some of the suggestions and alternatives that would see all the stadium disciplines and benefit the athletes and the fans, in the long term, so that there is diversity in these top competitions?
Of late Diamond Leagues, the events being shown on TV, it has become like more business. These people doesn't want to pay for TV rights, for a long time. They want a shorter period to showcase these events. And, we came up and said, we can go and, sit on the table with the World Athletics and the organizers of the Diamond League and propose to them some of the ways in which all of these events can be staged in the Diamond League. Look at like Hammer, it's not in the Diamond League, and we have very good rowers doing it, and it has never been in the Diamond League. Look at the 10,000. We don't have it. No one has come up and said, please, we need to have these events being staged in the Diamond League. Remember, these events also have been held, or being competed for in major championships like the World Championship and the Olympics. How do you want the athletes to qualify for these events? We need a very smooth process where these athletes can be given a chance, to showcase their talent. Being a 10,000-meter runner is not a crime. Being a triple jumper is not a crime. Being a steeple-chaser is not a crime. That is your talent, and you need to showcase it. We have never seen in football say some of the competition cannot be, or some of the position of players cannot be allowed in a competition. It can never be, and it will never be. So why come up and say these are some of the events that cannot be staged? And we know the reason behind it. If you can see, an event like 5,000, it takes like at most for men is 14 minutes, and for women it's like 13 minutes. So for the two events takes almost half an hour of these organizers. So they want to stage some of the events which take a very short period. Remember again, a season prior to the last season, in javelin, we had a very funny way of competing in the Diamond League. Many people did not realize that the first 3 attempts is given to every athlete, and then after that, only 4 athletes are given the chance. And after those 4, another 2 are given a last chance, which means, it's not kind of a competition anymore. It's just, you go there, get your bonuses and come back home, but you are not really showcasing your talent. So, well, at the Athletes Association now, we say we need to go and sit with the World Athletics and the organizers of the Diamond League. That this is a way we can do it. There is a better way we can do it. If we can do the steeplechase in some event, let's say in Doha, we do the next events in another competition, and there is a way we can accommodate all these events in the same competition, as much as you show it. If it is TV rights, it's not a matter of being a TV right. So it does mean the athlete's interest is not at the center of these organizers. It's just for them to stage this competition here, and they say, yeah, well done, we've done that thing. But the athletes have not really, competed at the highest level.
Julius, something else that you want to do is to see that the athletes have got a table with World Athletics and where they can have real involvement and power, so as they look to amplify the voices of their members and athletes around the world. Do you feel a little bit constrained, or like you are in a cage as in the current setup of World Athletics and their relationship with the athlete?
As an individual, you cannot say anything all the time and everybody hears you. But now, when we came up with the Athletes Association, we have a better chance, or a better position, where we can really lobby with the IAAF, World Athletics, and the organizers of these major events. That for an athlete, these are the rights of an athlete, and this is how an athlete should be treated. Not just coming there and compete and go. And without, when an athlete has an issue, no one listens to. So, with now President Christian Taylor and Emma Coburn as the vice, we have a better chance of, in case of anything, where we feel that some of our issues have not been listened to, or some of the proposals we made have not been, adhered to. So it's better for us. We have a better place where we can relate them and say, say, this is what we wanted and this is what you have not done. So that is a better position for us for now to, to engage with the world athlete, not as an individual. As an individual, look, for example, like I know I've maybe crossed, heads with many people here in Kenya or concerning sports or even the ministry, because I never, when something goes wrong, I will say, you can't step on my toes and say, that is okay. Have to come up and say, please, this is not the right way to do it. There's a better way of doing it. And it's not that I talk too much, but I speak for the voices of the voiceless athletes.
All right, and Julius, let's move on. You want to have, the association wants to have a welfare charter for athletes, and this is so that the athletes have got improved conditions. I know a lot of people, for example, previously in Kenya, there has been a body, the Professional Athletics Association of Kenya, PAC as it was known, but we've got to put it forward. What is the welfare charter that you want to bring out so that athletes are protected, and in case of injuries, if there are events, if they are, if it's traveling in between countries, making it easier for that, and also ensuring that they do get their pay on time?
Yes, you have to know this one is an independent body, not a competitor for World Athletics, as was PAC. PAC was, like a competitor to Athletics Kenya. We are not, we never formed this one as a competitor to anybody, This is an association for athletes, an independent association for athletes. So we just fight for the rights of athletes, the voices of athletes. PAC, when it came up, we thought it will be an association of athletes where it will be fighting for the rights of athletes. But it came along the way, and then I think it lost direction. It became a fight between athletes, and the management of Athletics Kenya, which was not the main thing for that matter. That is why, it came, and I don't know if it still exists. And I remember in a athletic group last week when this one came up, people thought maybe this is another PAC, but it's not. This is an association for athletes, and everybody is free to join it. So you sign up and you become a member. So, but then athletes charter. This is a way whereby we will have a special PAC. In case an athlete has a problem, who is a member of our association, it's better now. It will be easier to follow up and assist that athlete in case there is a financial problem with the athlete himself or herself. So this one now, in that center we have many things. I can't say everything, but as you asked, this is a better place where we will be able to help that athlete in case there is a major problem concerning his condition financially and all that, as an active member.
Something else you want to do is financial literacy. We have seen athletes, make huge amounts of money, and then others lose it, maybe use poor investment deals. Others, they put your trust into somebody, and eventually they do take off with your money. There is a word for that has been used, like wash, to avoid such things. And also those who may live an extravagant lifestyle, such that yes, you make your $10,000 from a race, but the moment it checks into the account, it leaves at the same speed with which it checked in.
Sure, I think, we've had many people, in Kenya. Many of my friends have gone under that, wash thing. And many people have lost their, their properties or, yes. Due to that, and I think it is because of the caliber of the athletes. People, you do something without knowing really what it means. Like wash. You never invest in those people. They will take all your money. So we need now to teach the athletes. These are the right ways. If you want to live a good life after sport, this is how you should, put your money into, and do not put it in the same, business. Diversify your, if it means investing in businesses, that you diversify, not put it in the same basket. And because look like a calamity like we have now, the pandemic we have. If you had your own things in the same place, everything now is shattered. So there's a better way whereby we will be able to, to reach the athletes, even through a seminar where we would, like we've been having with the Athletics Kenya. They have been doing so well, of course, during our seminars about investment and all that. So now, as an association, it is centered on an athlete. So the main interest here is the athletes, welfare after and even now during as an athlete.
Growing ideas for the sport, and the concept of athlete first in Kenya and Ethiopia, and of late in Uganda, athletics has taken care of itself. People will go watch the local meetings that we have. People will line up to go watch the marathons in Eldoret, in Nairobi, where it is. What is it that you want to see the sport grow? Because running is something every human being who's able-bodied does at any one point. So I think it's the most natural of sports. How do you want to see it grow?
Sports to grow doesn't mean, having that large crowd of people coming and watch the athletes, running. And it is the same thing this year, next year. We needed to make it look, staged in a better way. Like we have had complaints about athletes, during a stage competition here and there, that kuna watu walipitia pikipiki. It means now the sport is not growing. We're going back. We have people who are able to, use other means to win events. So to make the sport grow means that as where we are now, look at even in Kenya, our sport is not growing. We have to be frank about it. It's not growing. It's being there forever. So we need to make it even more better. The growth, if we want our sport to grow, even like remuneration of athletes or bonuses for athletes, need to grow. Not the same thing like you have this amount today, or you can say the winning price is this one, but the bonuses of athletes is different. You see, look like competitions like basketball. Their salaries, like the salary they earn is not as much as the bonuses they have in competition. So, like now in the Diamond, we know that the winner takes $10,000 prior to taxes, and the manager takes that. We need to improve on that, because the contract, of course, improves for a different athlete. The contract improves, but then remember, a contract of an African athlete is not the same as a contract of an American athlete. Compared to different events, it's not diversified across it equally. Look, like a sprinter in America earns a lot of money. Just yes, we can't complain about that, because they are doing so well, in sprinting. But in Kenya, the contracts of our athletes, sometimes even they have a group contract. So our sport is not growing. We just there. Who benefits more is not the athletes, but the top managers of these athletes.
That because yes, the managers are the people who get you into the races, and then also, for example, for you've got to engage the services of a coach. There is a physiotherapist also now tied to you, and there are other costs that are incumbent to your sport. Travel, for you to get involved in the javelin meetings and going across the world. I don't think the air tickets come cheap. So how do you try and ensure that there is safety, and also the whole ecosystem, benefits the athlete more, the people who really put in the effort, and at the end of it, entertain us every night when you're in action?
For the tickets, sometimes it depends. If you are invited to compete in Doha, the organizers, of course, will send you the ticket. I don't think that is a main problem. Not unless now we have a situation whereby some of us athletes, you go to another country, maybe your manager has told you go to another country, your visa has expired, and you didn't take the right, you didn't use the right channels going there. So now it becomes a problem too. That is personal problem that you created for yourself. But then yes, during this, when I'm flying to Europe or anywhere to compete, the welfare of the athlete, of course, is being taken care of by the manager. Sometimes we cannot get much into it, because those are, we respect contracts, even as we contracted to contract with different managers, so we will not be able to really engage into that. But in case an athlete come up with a valid reason that the treatment he or she is getting is not good from the manager or anybody. So we will come up into it and say, no, we need our athletes to be respected, because this association is centered on the interests of the athletes, the voices of the athletes. Because if we don't, then we will face the same problems we've been facing. I saw sometimes, before this pandemic came up, we have many athletes who are in different countries coming from Kenya, and they have had problems. But you see, that is beyond human control. We cannot just come and say, "Oh, we want our athletes to come back." We know for a fact that there were no flights happening, and if in case we have a flight, we will of course, reach federations in case we have such problems. Of course, it's not as yet now coming up with this. Of course, we will use the right channel. Protocol is so important, so we will use our president in case we feel this one is really, affecting the athletes, and then there is nobody who has come up with it. So we will help that.
Let me mention something else, and I would like to go back 2 years ago in Asaba, Nigeria, the African Championships. And for you and now Marie-José Talu, how would you work with the Confederation of African Athletics so that we do not have a scenario like from 2018 where marks that were set on the track were not accepted, some of the equipment used was not accepted, and yet this was the top African championship? How do you work around such that if you go there and you do 95 meters with the javelin, then it does count because the equipment was right from the start?
That event, I don't know how they got the rights to continue to host that event, because even starting from travel for the athletes, we really face a major problem. I remember we almost engaged in the fighting at the airport. That is what we didn't want to say. We didn't want anybody to know that Kenyan athletes almost fought the official at the airport, because I think it was much of corruption, because some countries would come in and leave the airport and we just wait there. So you see, if we now had a better way of saying, we didn't know, of course, like there was no athlete who had traveled to that place in Asaba before, and it was poorly organized anyway. It was poorly organized, and after that competition, all the times and the performance of the athletes were not recognized by World Athletics. Reason being, the stadium was not standard. It was not really organized well. The layoff pattern was not correct. Even in the runway, we had issues with the runway, because when you don't lay down that track well on the ground, it will I think it looks like it's ballooning. You understand that?
Yeah.
So you can easily fall down, and you get injured. So even you could see, even an event like I think the events which was not affected that much. I think the discus. I'm not sure the discus, the hammer, and the shot put, because the ring. I think that you can easily make that. But for javelin, it was dangerous anyway. And of course, if now the whole body say this track is not properly done, no matter what you do, even when you break the world record, it's useless. So we need a situation whereby, of course, I know with this now, we will have a visit prior to competitions by some of our members, just to confirm that everything is okay, because you see, these people were allowed to stage this competition. Maybe something happened. The interest for them was to host this competition, but the interests of the athletes were not factored in, because they knew, of course, prior to this, that this stadium, the track is not well laid, and that the results will not be accepted by the World Athletics. So why then allow this competition to take place in such a place? Remember when we had the 2010 Africa Championship, that is the time now, I came up into limelight. The Kenyan, I think, I should say, I should appreciate that they did everything, that they made sure that everything was factored in, the standards of the stadium were factored in, and everything, so that if these athletes were able to qualify for major events in future, there will be no problem with the results of the athletes. But the Asaba then It was a shamble. I don't know why it took place there. And even the place, I wish you were there. It looked so remote. Everything was not, I don't know. I don't want to talk much about it anymore.
Okay, now, Julius, I want to touch on two things. One has got to do with the Olympics, and I'll be coming to that shortly. But first, you have been vocal on social media. I know we end up in conversations on Twitter about anti-doping. And what is the role? How do you work in Kenya with the Federation, the Anti-Doping Agency of Kenya, and at the global stage with World Athletics, the Athletics Integrity Unit, and the World Anti-Doping Agency?
Wahome, something to do with doping. Currently around the world, I think it's becoming, the ignorance of the athlete. Why should you fail to feel your whereabouts? Failing to feel your whereabouts is, it starts from you. You shouldn't even complain, because when you knew, of course, at some point you have to be at this place at this particular time. Like 60-minute period cannot kill you to stay in your place where you say I will be here. We have a whole day. Like, for example, let me maybe say, I can use my own example. Like from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m., that is a 60-minute period in the whereabouts, is the time that I should be in my house. Like now they know I'm in Eldoret. I should be in my house, so that when these people come in, they will be able to locate me where I am. They will be able to get me and do the test. But then if you feel that 7 to 6, and then you went out before that time elapsed, and then it means there is something you are hiding. Like the case of Coleman when we say he had gone for shopping. Do you think that is a valid reason? No, it is not. So the issue of doping in Kenya is some of our athletes, many of our athletes, the problem is they do not feel their own whereabouts. I remember when we had the webinar with the AIU, ADAC and Athletics Kenya, I realized that in that group where we were, I think maybe one or two athletes were sure that they were feeling their own whereabouts. So some of these athletes do not even feel their own whereabouts. Their manager maybe or a third party, but liability lies with the athlete. We need to be so serious about it. And these measures be taken by AIU. It's not that they are punishing, certain athletes from a certain place. And of course, when it becomes now a court case, there's nothing we can do. And I think in Kenya, we have not really had lawyers who are well conversant with the issues doping concerning athletes. You see, when we go for a case, it fails. That means it's not about the amount of money maybe someone is trying to corrupt. I'm not saying, I will say that because we trust that AIU are doing the right thing. So it is, the kind of lawyers an athlete engage now when this one become a so we should be able, even before it reaches a court case, just try as much as possible. Don't let yourself into that awkward situation. The only thing AIU will do to help you is they will notify you that you have failed a doping. So you have to show a reason why you failed that doping. And if, of course, like whereabouts, you say they came and they didn't find you, they will, of course, notify you again that they came to your place at this particular time, the 60-minute period that you gave out to us, and we were not able to locate you. So explain, give us a valid reason why you were not able to be in that place at that particular time. And again, we have seen a situation whereby, imagine an athlete, another athlete, who cannot even get lost in an airport, going to the documents I had accident, or I was seeing. Like for me, when I have a problem, I will call Dr. Bargoria. Dr. Bargoria is one of the doctors who have been, tasked with the role of, assisting athletes in Kenya. I will call him and say, I have this problem. Please, what should I do? It takes just a minute for you to call that doctor and their names. We have 6 doctors or 5 doctors in Kenya. Can you call them and say, please, I have this problem? Look, last time when Kamoror had a problem, the only doctor who was there is Dr. Bargoria. Reason being, he is a smart athlete. He knows what he's doing. He knows his roles as an athlete. Even though he has a problem, he has an accident. Reach those doctors and say, I have this problem. Even if, let's say, you are in a situation whereby you cannot talk, you are able to write, or somebody who has taken you to hospital. There is no one who doesn't know that Julius Shego is an athlete. If I go to the hospital today and I'm not able to talk, a doctor will not just administer anything to me without my knowledge. They will ask even somebody, who am I with that? How is this person? Where did the problem start? And who is he? If they say this is Julius Shego, this is an athlete, there is no doctor who will be, we of course we have doctors who are, scrupulous, who finish the career of somebody. But for sure, if you are an upright athlete, just be smart. Ignorance, I think, is what is killing some of us. We've seen many cases coming up in Kenya, and if you see the reason why these athletes are being banned, you wonder, like, unacheka, are you serious with life?
Wow, people have got to be serious with life. But now, Julius, I want you to listen to something, because the Athletics Association Board this week, they added their voices to the call around the world to make the change in something known as Rule 50, and this is something that has got to do with how athletes voice things that have got to do with politics. For example, like the Black Lives Matter campaigns that have been going on for too long. You can think of 1968. Tommy Smith and John Carlos, they were medalists in the 200 meters, and when they raised their hands, they suffered for so long. But first, let us listen to IOC President Thomas Bach. He was speaking on Thursday during the IOC session. This is what he had to say about the movement and what they think and what he feels the IOC should be doing about it. Thomas Bach.
Unfortunately, we are already seeing clear signs in some parts of the world that this one scenario is on the rise, where society and nations are driven by even more egoism and self-interest. This leads to more confrontation and to the politicization of all aspects of life: culture, economy, health, science, humanitarian aid. Even the fight against doping is already being targeted. Solidarity and non-discrimination are in our DNA. Therefore, we appreciate all the athletes and anybody who supports these values by expressing themselves, or who are helping others by engaging in their communities. In this context, we have to make some remarks with regards to the discussion about Rule 50 of the Olympic Charter. It is important to emphasize that the athletes have already multiple opportunities to express their views also during the Olympic Games. Press conferences, mixed zones, social media, interviews, team meetings, and others. Rule 50 addresses only the field of play and the ceremonies. To reconcile these values of free expression on the one hand and respect for each other on the other hand, the IOC Athletes Commission has initiated a dialogue among athletes on how they can even better express their support for the Olympic values in a dignified and non-divisive way.
That is IOC President Thomas Bach speaking at the IOC session that was held on Thursday. It was a virtual one. And Julius, you've had him mention about Rule 50. And maybe as a closing point, the expression and Rule 50, they say it is not during the medal ceremony so that we don't see, what they don't want is something that happened in 1968, the John Carlos and Tommy Smith scenario. What is the Athletics Association, doing to see that the matters around Rule 50 are properly addressed?
For us in Athletics Association, we want to come in a way that don't not just. We want to respect it is. Of course, this matter, the Athletic Association have already protest to IOC concerning the Rule 50. So I don't want to talk much about it. But of course, we need to have respect, Our diversity, is God-given. And we will not we will not want us to be in an awkward position whereby, we infringe the rights of any athlete or any leadership. So we are waiting to get our response to the complaint. Of course, our observation about it. So we will be able to show you the response they have given us. And as we go forward, we need to respect that. Like Black Lives Matter. We know, of course, every life matters. But then, the rising cases of, bad ways, like in America, that police officer killing that, harmless man, and and that is where all these things started coming up again. And we want a situation whereby we don't want, to see this one. I remember Christian Saylor was so down about this issue when it came up, and he was really affected. And like as an African like me, I feel for that. Like when I saw that guy dying in such a situation, he didn't have to suffer that way and die in the manner he did. So we need respect, respect for our races, our culture and all that. If I protest in the stadium, it doesn't mean that I hate the other races or the culture. It is because of the pain I have, and I have to show that, not in a way that I'm creating division among the different races we have around the world.
All right, Julius Yego, thank you very much for your time this morning. I know you're getting back to training, hoping that you can do it. I hope you have a runway where you can, do your craft and also improve on your skill. We hope to see you getting back to the huge ones, 88, 89 to the 90s, by the time we get back to action in August, probably in Turkey or in any of the meetings that's coming.
Thank you, Wahome. All that will be back. I have to say this. I have to appreciate what the World Athletic Sports Fund did for me. I was one of the beneficiaries, and I have my own gym now in the compound, and I'm able to do my own training at home. For the runway, I'm really waiting for Kipchoge Stadium to be finished up. But for now, I have to appreciate, of course, the county government was the issue. They were able to help me, to access the Eldoret Sports Club. We have a large field, even though we don't have the runway. There is a place, there is enough field where I'm able to throw the javelin. So I want to appreciate them. Without them, I would not be able to train.
All right. Julius Yego, 2015 world champion in the javelin throw, and also now a board member of the Athletics Association. This is an independent athletes lobby group that has got 24 athletes overseeing the board, with every continent represented, and Julius Yego is a representative for Africa. He has been speaking to us about athlete representation and some of the things that they have to go through. Julius Yego, thank you very much for your time this morning. Wish you a good day. We'll be taking just a quick little break, and when we get back from the interviews, when we get back, we'll be talking about sports branding, but right now, let's go over to the Nairobi Hospital, where the United Nations and that institution have come to a partnership with a groundbreaking for a treatment facility.
In Kenya's human resource and expertise. It is also a reflection of Nairobi's role as a key peacekeeping, humanitarian, and development hub for Africa. The treatment facility, as you have already heard, will be 100% Kenyan built and run using local source contractors, labor and material. We reduce the burden of caring for COVID patients, COVID positive United Nations personnel and partners on the Kenya healthcare system. The United Nations, apart from extending financial resources, will also provide such specialized equipment that is in such supply globally and may not be easily available in Kenya. I would like to stress, like Dr. Alan and the chairman of the board, that the United Nations and the Nairobi Hospital do not intend for any of the capacity of the treatment facility to stand idle while Kenyans and other residents of Kenya require treatment. It's not going to be used solely just by United Nations. Any Kenyan that needs this facility will be able to access it. Finally, let me emphasize that this innovative partnership underlines both the United Nations commitment to Kenya and Kenya's support to the United Nations system. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Madam Bangura, for the very, very insightful remarks. Now it gives me the pleasure to invite Dr. Rashid Aman, Chief Administrative Secretary for Health, to make his remarks. Dr. Aman.
The Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Honorable Rachel Omamo, the Director General of UNON, Madam Zainab Bangura, the Chair of Kenya Hospital Association and Nairobi Hospital, Dr. Irungu Ndirangu, the CEO, Nairobi Hospital, Dr. Alan Pamba, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Today, we are witnessing the start of a strategic partnership between the United Nations office at Nairobi and the Nairobi Hospital. The two institutions have come together to put in place a framework of cooperation in responding to the COVID-19 pandemic. The Nairobi Hospital started operations in Kenya in 1954. Today, it is one of the premier private hospitals in the country, providing health care not only to Nairobi residents, but to patients from all over the country and the East Africa region at large. Its medical expertise and service provision has earned the hospital recognition throughout East Africa and beyond as an advanced diagnostic, treatment, and referral center. The UN has a large presence in Kenya of over 4,000 staff and 16,000 of their dependents. Nairobi currently serves as the primary regional medical evacuation center for the UN's peacekeeping and humanitarian operations within and beyond Africa. The partnership between these two institutions, spurred by the COVID-19 pandemic, is one where the two will work together to ensure the Nairobi Hospital is able to meet the COVID-19 medical needs of the UN family in Kenya. These needs fall into two broad categories of medical management of 1, non-symptomatic COVID-19 cases, and 2, hospitalized COVID-19 cases. Currently, the Nairobi Hospital is offering medical oversight and isolation facilities for the first category of non-symptomatic UN personnel and their families at the Silver Spring Hotel across here, which it has taken over for now for this purpose. For the second category of confirmed COVID-19 patients requiring hospitalization, the two partnering institutions will set up a specialized COVID-19 hospital on these grounds that we are standing on. The groundbreaking that we are participating in today is for this facility. This, as you have heard, is a turnkey project that will see a 150-bed specialized hospital complete with ICU, HDU, operation theaters, and requisite specialist doctors and nursing care, backed by an array of diagnostic setups, including laboratory, radiology, physiotherapy, and other services, to be completed in a record-setting time of between 6 and 8 weeks. In fact, as I inquired about this time span, I was told that the team is even considering shrinking it to 5 weeks. I hope that that is possible. This facility will serve, as we have heard, not only UN staff and their dependents in Kenya and UN staff in regional field missions, but also UN staff from other parts of the world should the need arise, and of course, Kenyans as well. It will also serve other non-UN clients, including the diplomatic corps, and this facility will be managed by the Nairobi Hospital. As we applaud this partnership and effort, let us reflect on the situation in the country as regards COVID-19. Needless to say, the COVID-19 global pandemic has demonstrated that health threats can impact social, political, and economic stability of a country and can have devastating effects within the family economic setting. Investment in health security is thus of paramount importance and should be aimed at minimizing the vulnerability to acute public health events that endanger collective health of populations living across geographical regions and international boundaries. The country's response to COVID-19 pandemic has been steady and consistent, focusing on containing the spread of the virus, while at the same time building our health systems and enhancing our level of preparedness to cope with the increasing cases as our trajectory or curve moves through the various phases. We now have full-blown community transmission, and modeling projections predict peaking sometime in August or September. This venture is very timely, and I hope that it will be up in place and operational by the time we begin to see these increased numbers. Being fully prepared when this peak occurs is paramount. Hence, the countrywide effort in the counties to set up a 300-bed treatment facility in each county as directed by His Excellency the President. The groundbreaking of this venture today is part of being prepared. In terms of our statistics and numbers, as of yesterday, the country had recorded a total of 13,353 positive cases from 243,887 samples tested thus far. So far, we have registered, unfortunately, 234 deaths due to coronavirus, but we have also seen full recoveries of 5,122 patients. We still have a long haul, and I think we need to keep vigilant and continue to be prepared to be able to adequately respond to this pandemic. Finally, it is a great pleasure for me to be part of this groundbreaking event today that is contributing to our COVID-19 response. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rashid. So we saved the last for the best for last. It now gives me great pleasure to invite Honorable Rachel Omamo, the Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs, to come and make her remarks.
Well, that is the Chief Administrative Secretary, Dr. Rashid, in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Rashid Aman. He was giving his remarks, and this is at the Nairobi Hospital. And now it's the Cabinet Secretary, Rachel Omamo, Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs, giving her speech.
Of Kenya, the CEO of the Nairobi Hospital, and the chairman of the board of the Nairobi Hospital, ladies and gentlemen, and friends of the UN and friends of Nairobi Hospital. It gives me great pleasure to be able to stand here this morning to witness a really extraordinary event that is taking place here today. The groundbreaking of a COVID-19 hospital that is being built in conjunction with the Nairobi Hospital and the United Nations with the support of the government of the Republic of Kenya. They say that if you want to build a house that will stand for a long time, if you want to build a house that will stand the test of time, then you build it on solid ground, on a solid foundation. And I wish to state here without fear of contradiction that this hospital is built on the foundation of solidarity. This idea that people must join hands, people must bring together strong ideas, so that we are all able to deal with the worst health challenge of our time, the COVID-19 pandemic. It has become clear that unless we work in unison, unless we cooperate, unless we leverage the capacity of each and every one of us, the challenge of surmounting the many pitfalls that COVID-19 has caused will not be achievable. This hospital is a manifestation of the importance that the United Nations places on Kenya and Nairobi in particular. I don't know whether many of you realize that the UN offices that we have in Nairobi and the many agencies that it hosts represents the largest UN office in the Southern Hemisphere. This office is critical to the operations of the work of the United Nations, its peacekeeping work, its humanitarian work, and its development work. It is critical not just for the United Nations, it is critical for Kenya, it is critical for our people and for the vibrancy and strength of Nairobi as the key hub of the East Africa region. We want to thank the UN in particular for having the courage to come up with a new concept of cooperation. And I want to thank a fellow woman. It's only women who come up with original ideas. And here is a powerful woman who grappled, thought hard about how this hospital could be built and how it could be done in partnership. And what she was able to rally her team into doing was to ensuring that one, this hospital is built right here in the heart of Nairobi. Two, that it is built by Kenyans. Three, that it will be run by Kenyans. Four, that it will serve not only the large United Nations community we have in Kenya in the region, but it will also serve Kenyans. This type of triangulation, this bringing together of the UN, the private sector, and the government is the template that will now be followed throughout throughout the world. Mark my words. What she has done is groundbreaking, and I'm glad that we're going to break this ground here this morning to be able to acknowledge the great work that the Director General of the United Nations Office of Nairobi and her team have done. Let's clap for them. I think that is extraordinary. So the challenge for us now is this, that we must get the hospital done on time, in budget, and at the standard that will be required to enable its services to be used expeditiously by the UN and by Kenyans. We want to thank you, the UN, for having faith in Nairobi Hospital, and we want to thank the Nairobi Hospital for being so easy to choose, because this is a hospital with a history of excellence. It's a hospital that has been the center of medevac for the UN and for ordinary Kenyans for many years. It is a hospital that everybody wants to come to be treated. So it was not difficult for the Nairobi Hospital when they were looking for a partner to choose the Nairobi Hospital. I want to thank the CEO and the chairperson of the hospital for your history of excellence, your history of innovation, and your longevity. There's so many hospitals in this region that start off with promise, but after 5-10 years, they deteriorate and are no longer the place of choice for medical care. Nairobi Hospital has stood the test of time. Not only has it stood the test of time, but it is able to innovate to meet the challenges of our times. And that is called flexibility, and that is called a hospital with a vision. As the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Health, we will continue to support the United Nations and the Nairobi Hospital to facilitate the work of the UN in Kenya, to provide such advice as they may wish to have, and to be that partner that His Excellency, the President of this Republic, and the Secretary General of the United Nations wish for. This partnership shows the depth of the friendship between our government and the United Nations. It shows that the United Nations is here to stay. And it shows that not only is the United Nations here to stay, but it is here to build. It is here to reinforce. It is here to uplift. And it is here to showcase the talent and skills of our people. So I want to wish you all well as we begin this journey to rapidly construct this facility. Let it be constructed expeditiously so that it is open for use as soon as possible. We ask those who are building the structure to do so with the highest standards, not to waver in your commitment to assist the UN, the Nairobi Hospital, and the people of Kenya. Yours is also a big responsibility. You must also show solidarity. You must also be able to demonstrate that the faith that has been put into Kenyan contractors by the United Nations is worth every penny. Yeah? And that you'll be able to do what is required of you in good time, and that you'll be able to produce a hospital of quality. One thing that the United Nations has said to us is that they will help build up our medical fraternity. They will ensure that when COVID is over, that the material that they have provided, the machines, the equipment, will remain right here in Kenya, right here, so that it can continue to be used for the benefit of our population. So with those words, I wish you all Godspeed. I pray that this hospital will be able to achieve its objectives. I hope that the template that you have developed, Director General, will be replicated in so many parts of Africa and beyond. I hope that from this space here, this place in the center of the city of Nairobi will generate a blossoming of friendship, a blossoming of cooperation, a blossoming of solidarity, and that will be able to show the world that when people think in an original way, when people look at a problem and try and solve it together, what you get are new structures, new models for others to follow. Thank you very much. I'm so honored that you were able to invite me here to witness this important ceremony. Before I sit down, let me just emphasize what the Ministry of Health has been saying to all of us for the last 6 months. Wear your mask properly. Sanitize and wash your hands regularly. Engage in social distancing and avoid crowded places. If you do those 4 things, if you accept your individual responsibility, then together, in the spirit of solidarity, we will be able to surmount the challenge of COVID-19. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Rachel Wahome, for those really wonderful.
Well, there you have, that was the Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs, Rachel Wahome, who was giving her remarks, and this is at the Nairobi Hospital, where the institution, the hospital institution, the Nairobi Hospital has partnered with the United Nations office in Nairobi, where they have set up a COVID-19 treatment facility. This is a partnership between the United Nations, and it's placed at where the Nairobi Hospital Old Nursing School was, so that's where they're setting up, and the groundbreaking is taking place this morning, was seen by the Cabinet Secretary, Rachel Wahome, for Foreign Affairs, Chief Administrative Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Rashid Aman, and Nairobi Hospital CEO, Dr. Alan Pamba, and we also have got Zainab Agura, who is the United Nations Office in Nairobi Director General. So that is what's happening there, and the full report on the groundbreaking ceremony will be given to you. Our reporter at that function is Kamche Bedza. We continue with our conversation, and this time it's around sport. And where do we get this one from? We have to talk about an announcement that was made last week on Thursday. Outside of golf, talk about team sport, 1.2 billion shillings for 5 years, and it was announced by FKF President Nick Mwendwa, a partnership between BetKing and the Kenyan Premier League. We will be having a conversation not about that deal per se, but about extracting value from sporting properties. We'll be doing that with Cynthia Mumbo, the Chief Executive Officer of Sports Connect, after this short break.
When the world changed, it made us go back to the simple joys and love the little things even more, like serving up your best, eating together, and sharing more. Now, we'll take nothing for granted and always remember to taste the simple joys. Coca-Cola. Taste the simple joys.
On the next episode of Corner.
Who is the politician? Ako poa kweli?
Nini ulize hivyo?
Sema kweli amekuwa ni kama hayuko poa, ni kama ako na mafikira mob, yani unajua. Hayuko kwa mazoezi tena.
Be careful, Aira.
About what?
The people that you think are your friends.
Again, Walter.
Stop pretending to be one.
Get something straight. There are many things I would tolerate, but disrespect isn't one of them.
On the next episode,
I told you that when my father showed up, I would tell him about Tekes, but you had to get him all riled up.
There's something you haven't told me? Why did you feel that you had the right to be at the airport?
What hurts me even more is that she made a fool of me for so long. Why did I not see this coming?
Antonio, you have to stop blaming yourself.
Do I have to describe everything to you in detail?
Oh, I understand now. I have to tell you a lot of things.
You do?
Yes.
Like what?
In Love with Ramon. Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
It's a different ball game. Online concerts, album releases, and virtual parties.
That's the new norm in the entertainment scene.
Corona or no corona, lazima
Rock and roll on Grapevine.
Every Monday at 10 p.m.
Hali imekuwa ngumu, hakuna pesa kila kona, kila mtu unamdai naye anasingizia corona.
Very good morning and welcome back to News Check on this Monday morning. I am Daniel Wahome. Our sign language interpreter is Simon Karoda. That's a gentleman you can see at the bottom right of your television screen. It's a day when, keeping up with news from all around the country. We're going to be getting an update from Jomvu, from our Mombasa reporter Michael Mwandiga. Just like we have seen the United Nations COVID treatment facility open a groundbreaking ceremony at the Nairobi hospital, and that's the part of the news package that we've got. We continue with our conversations and around sport. And I mentioned about a 1.2 billion shilling deal that's over 5 years for the Kenyan Premier League that was announced by FKF President Nick Mwendwa. It has elicited a lot of conversations, mainly because the sponsoring party was not at the event, which means it was preempted. Any discussion has been put and thrown at that deal. But it's not what we want to break down this morning. It's how do you extract value from a sports property, a sports team, an athlete, or even for a federation or a confederation. To discuss that, we've got Cynthia Mombo. She is the CEO of Sports Connect Africa. And Cynthia, very good morning to you. And welcome. And first, your take out from the announcement by Nick Mwendwa about that 1.2 billion shilling deal over 5 years. Not to break it down, but your reaction to it from a sports marketing perspective.
Well, from a layman's perspective, I think it's a fantastic proposition. But proposition from an expert perspective, that proposition depends on what's on paper. So can come out and say 1.2 billion in the next 10 years, but 1.2 billion going where? What are the rights that have been given? And what does that mean? Who gets what? What value does the partner expect? And what value does the league, and in this case FKF as well, expect to get from this? And the reason I would like to mention this is a title sponsorship. 8 million shillings per club is the minimum, is what they're looking at. I know previously from the TV deal that the Kenyan Premier League had, they were getting 7.5 million shillings, and I think from the title sponsorship an extra 1.5 million per club. And how much, just looking at that, if you were to look at the Kenyan Premier League, where do they extract the real value of that league to present a case to
commercial partners or even broadcasters?
Okay, so let's start by, I always go, to the triangle, the sports triangle, and it's more of a triangle. It's more than a triangle now. It's a diamond, whatever. But I'll go to the basic. It's the triangle. In there you have your athletes, you have your team, you have your athletes, and you have your fans. Those are the most critical stakeholders in sports. So the athlete is the core of sport. If you don't have an athlete, you have nothing. And the fan will watch the athlete. When you're even in your estate, there's always that guy that plays. There's always some crew from the estate that's coming to watch. So that's the core. That's the core of sport, the athlete and the guys that come to watch. Now, to get organized, you have at the top, at the apex, you have the sport. You have, the organization, the teams, all of that. And that's very critical. So, you get that organized. What happens? You have sponsors coming in because, well, if the team is organized, you have your fixtures are constantly on time, your athletes are happy, they're well taken care of. We had from Yego a little earlier, about valuing the athlete. So if you have all of that happening, you have more fans coming to either the stadium or coming to have this experience. When you have that, what happens? Media comes in because media says there's something here. Can we have a conversation where we can show more of it and have more eyes? When you have more eyes, what happens? You have partners
yes.
coming in and saying, we want to be a part of this because there's so many eyes on the screens, and we have a funny way of saying this in sports: bums on seats. You have guys coming to the stadium to watch the game, and that's where you derive your value from as a sporting entity. How many eyes
that is
are on your game?
Now, for you to do that, you may have something that, for example, the English Premier League has done that for itself.
Yeah.
The NBA has done that for itself.
Mm-hmm.
Rugby has done that for itself in Australia, New Zealand, South Africa.
Right.
The question is, how do you get organized to, one, attract the fan, and if the fan's in the stadium, then there are people who want to be associated with it. Not because you're in the same clique, but because this person who's in the stadium is a target consumer.
You'll go back to basic management. It's the same way I manage any other brand. So you have to create a product, and strategy is very important. There is no business on this planet that wakes up and boom, they have 4 million customers. You have to have a strategy. So, the way we look at it from a sports management and sports marketing perspective is long term. You can't wake up 3 days, 5 days, 1 week and say, we will have 2 million guys watching our game. What's your strategy to getting 2 million guys watching that game? What's the core of your business? What's the core of your product? It's the athlete. What are people coming to watch? They want to watch a continuous game. It's a story. So create a story, build a story, sell the story. I watch the English Premier League. Why? Because I can tell you what happened 5 years ago, and it's connected to what's happening now. And there's anticipation of what's going to happen in the next couple of months, or in the next year, or in the next season. There's that anticipation, and that's the currency of sport. The fact that you have something to look forward to, that entertainment value. And we have to be able to create an entertainment value. It goes beyond the administrators. It's about the athletes. It's about the sport.
And you talk about that, and it raises a question. How much do we do in terms of knowledge management? When you talk about, about the EPL 5 years ago, you can tell the story and connect it to the close of this EPL season. What, for example, basketball, the sport that you played, what's the story that you can tell for the last 5 years?
Well, that's the thing. Who owns the story? If you own the story, you can tell the story, and you must always understand that strategically you must be able to tell a positive story. I can say that so much has happened in Kenyan basketball, but can I access it? Can I access that information? Where do I go if I want to access the fact that Kenya beat South Sudan the other day? And I'm talking about a verified source that belongs to either the federation or any organization within that framework that owns the conversation. If you don't own the conversation, media will come and say people were jumping through the roof. And that's what I'm going to get when I go and look in the media platforms. But, you know, if you own the story, you are able to say in the next, you can tell strategically. I mean, I'm going to give one example or maybe two examples. Look at the NBA. NBA Africa were to launch the NBA Africa game this year.
In Rwanda.
In Rwanda.
Yes.
Right. Many of us were asking questions. Hey, NBA in Africa, wow. But those of us who have had a bit of access will tell you that the NBA has been in Africa for the last 10 years. I met the VP of NBA in Nairobi about 10 years ago. How did they start? They started by junior leagues. They started by development, focus on development. Now, if you think strategically, looking at Africa, you have 70% under the age of 35. You have digital access. You have, and this is management. This is what you should be looking at. You have digital access. You have mobile access. You have social media, and this is where these young people are. The NBA launching the league this year, if you listened to what Adam Silver said, the president, and Amadou said, they said in 10 years, we expect this in 10 years. Please note, they didn't say in 2 years or in 3 years. They said in 10 years, we expect this league to be one of the biggest leagues in the world. And having sat and watched their strategic input and their strategic intent and how they have been able to, you know, build, I can tell you they have about 40 junior NBA leagues in Africa. Each year, each of those leagues has 400 kids playing in one of those leagues. Each year. Look at the math. They're now launching a league. Where will those kids be? Some of them are 12, between 12 and 16 years. Where will they be 10 years from now?
They'll be 26. They probably will be playing in pro basketball, or they will already have been assigned.
You have millions of them. Beyond just that, there will be the customer, and they will have had access to NBA. NBA will have given or a T-shirt, or they'll be watching their fellow. You know, it'll be ingrained in their system that it's not a far-off thing, that this is NBA Africa. And you can imagine playing in a league or having access or telling your friends that you're playing in this junior NBA league. And then in 10 years, you have the Africa League constantly in your face, because the NBA is not just going to launch a league and not be able to, you know, invest, and invest is a key word here, invest behind having people access the league. And that for me is what is lacking in our strategic intent, if I can say.
And I will ask this. We always seem to be in a hurry.
Yeah.
And we are permanently late, but always in a hurry to be somewhere.
Yeah.
But permanently late as how we do everything. And the question is, do we have the patience to build on something for 10 years? When I always use the example of the Olympic Youth Centers in football, Bernard all said, listen, this is going to take 10 years. If you guys want 3 years, I'm sorry. But they said it's going to...
That is sport.
Is the patience there?
That's sport. The English Premier League is what it is today, but what was it 20 years ago? They had, I think, 3 or 4, 5 years of free-to-air. They knew that they were planning for 20 years to be the biggest. And it's vision. It's saying 10 years, 20 years, it is strategic intent. In 10 years, in 20 years, we will be the biggest. Work backwards and say, what are we going to do to get us there? Now, we want quick wins. There's an analogy I live by and I believe so strongly. What happens on the pitch? You know, when you see an athlete is a brilliant athlete, you watch that. What happens off the pitch? The training, the planning, it's intense. What we saw of Diego, he didn't start in a year.
Yes.
He had built, what we saw was him having trained by himself, the thought process,
It was just 8 or 9 years, going by the count, ever since he was rejected from the under-18 side.
Thank you.
And at under-20 level.
Thank you.
Before becoming world champion in 2015. That we know.
Yes, it took him that long. So why do we assume that the management bit, because the sport bit we get right, the technical bit we get right, we understand that to create a brilliant athlete, to create a brilliant team, we must technically invest over time. Why, my question has always been, why aren't we using the same analogy off the pitch? And that is what it should be. Because you can't win on the pitch and expect that to just be everything. You have to have your strategy right off the pitch as well. And that is what is going to elevate what we're trying to build on the pitch.
Now, as you put the hard work and all that, there is one question that is always asked. Do our federations know their worth? For example, if it's the basketball federation, do they know the worth of the Classic League? If it's the hockey union, do they know the worth of the Premier League? If it's the volleyball federation, do they know the value of the women's league, which is higher than the men's league, I've got to admit, in this country?
No, they don't. It's plain and simple. If you knew value, you would be able to, if you knew your value, you'd be able to walk into anybody's room and tell them, we are worth 40 million, and you can be able to show that by showing your data, right? We have 10 million people watching us every week, or we have 2, or even if you have 1,000 people watching you every week, but you can be able to attach a value to 1,000 people who have access to you every week, because you're saying that, you know, we can reach them with this kind of content every week, and da 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 da, and you will be able to, you know, you will be able to access them. But that conversation is never had. It's a commercial conversation. It's like any other commercial conversation. Whenever you're selling your Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola will tell you Africa has 1.5, 1.3 billion people. We want to be in every corner. And for us to get into every corner, our distribution strategy is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Our sales strategy is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Our marketing strategy is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Our finance strategy and our governance strategy, so that we make sure that everything kind of works together, and our people strategy, because you can't do anything without people. People are your core, the core of your business.
And it comes to an issue here, and I want to use a technical term in business: vertical integration and horizontal integration. You know, horizontal integration is where you go buying up everyone. So you, if it's KBC, we go buy a newspaper here, a radio station here, a website here. I mean, horizontally integrate to make it big. And then there is a whole of vertical integration. The easiest description of vertical integration is a distribution channels for narcotics. The guy who controls that product controls it from the farm to the guy who's smoking that or using that narcotic. So it's tight. He owns the entire process. Where should sport operate? Do they go by collecting, you know, acquisitions here and there? FIFA have their own production house. It's called Host Broadcast Service. The IOC have the Olympic Broadcast Service, and then the distribution channels. Or do you basically keep everything locked?
I'll go with the horizontal. One, sports is social, so you can't own everything, because people take ownership of sport. So you can't own everything, you know, from a vertical perspective. But like you said, what's your core business? What are you selling? You're selling...
At the end of the day, I think Diamond League sells us people running, jumping, and throwing.
You're selling entertainment. You're selling happiness, like Coca-Cola does. Coca-Cola is water and milk with gas and whatever, but you're selling happiness. You're selling family. You're selling community. So you want, how do I own this? And how, that's the biggest bit, the content that you own. That you own that content. So how do you disseminate that content? If you do not have the capability to own your own broadcast, and you also have to be very cognizant of your environment and the environment that you play in. So if you don't have the resources to do that, work with Goodwill, work with a broadcasting partner and say, guys, we have this content. We have the opportunity to build this content. Even if you are not probably at 100% now, but we're at 50%. If you come in, we'll move to 80%. This is the value that it will create for you as a broadcaster. This is the value that we intend to build for ourselves as the owner of the content. And these are the people that we can be able, we can have a revenue share agreement. We can have, an agreement around partnership or whatever. But be able to understand where you are as a sports, as a sporting entity and say, within this environment, what can work for us, and how does that relate to the different stakeholders that we can bring in? Going vertical is very difficult because stakeholder engagement is extremely crucial in sports management. So I'd always advocate for the horizontal.
Now, opportunities for Kenya, because it's been said the opportunities are there. What needs to be done? And how do administrators work? Because you've worked with them. What is it that they need to do to, open up the engagement, with everyone and not go for the kill? It's something that's there. You probably have a pen. It's worth 20 shillings, but you want to convince me it's worth 200. And if I don't give you 200, I can as well stay with the pen.
Well, you lose.
No, they end up losing.
Yeah,
but where do
losing.
they do this?
My thought has always been this. 10 years ago, where were we? We're speaking the same conversation we were speaking 10 years ago. So can you imagine if 10 years ago we had put our house together and said, this is where we want to be in 10 years. Even if you achieve 60%, you've done way more, right? So sports cannot change overnight. There's no quick fix. Unfortunately, there is no quick fix. The Olympics takes 8 years to plan for 30 days. There is no quick fix.
It's actually an event that takes 22 days.
22 days, but it takes
total.
8 years to plan.
Yes.
Right? 8 years, and it's meticulous planning, thought process, everything. This person, that person. Everybody is important. The World Cup, the same thing. The Commonwealth, the same thing. You've talked about the Nigerian experience with Diego and why it didn't work. Because, well, there was no planning. You cannot escape with sports. You can't. You have to have a long-term objective and build backwards. There's no shortcut to it.
All right. Cynthia Mumbu, Chief Executive Officer of Sports Connect Africa, speaking about branding. And yes, she says there is no shortcut, and you've got to put in the work. If you want to plan for, want it to really work, 10 years. The EPL actually went free to air on KBC almost 30 years ago, from 92 to around 95, 97. And now, today, right? Yeah. You've got to pay to watch every game. Lesson learned. And yeah, we're still hooked onto that league. And we will be speaking about English football next with our regular correspondent, Gregory Mulemi. And he's coming up next. The FA Cup semi-finals. Chelsea, 3-1 winners over Manchester United. And also Arsenal, 2-0 winners over Manchester City. That's coming up after the short break with Gregory Mulemi.
Hamjambo wa Kenya wenzangu, mimi ni prosecutor. Niko hapa kusisitiza maagizo ambayo tunapewa na Wizara ya Afya kuhusu ugonjwa wa coronavirus. Tunaambiwa pahali pana watu wengi lazima tuweke distance, yani kuweka hatua mita 1 kwa mwenzako. Ukienda kwa matatu, weka distance. Ukienda kwa soko ama palipopote mkusanyiko wa watu, ni vizuri uweze kupeana hiyo social distance ili tuweze kumaliza maambukizi. Tukifuata haya masharti ama maagizo ambayo tunapewa na Wizara ya Afya, hakika tutaangamiza corona virus, na hali yetu ya kawaida tutairudia. Asanteni sana.
This Monday on KBC Channel 1.
Many boxer for crying out loud. Not your patient.
Once again said how I was in love with Wanjala. So later, he asked me, "Are you?"
What did you say?
You're even handsome.
Well, thanks for the compliment.
I'm only telling you nothing more than the truth.
Well, you, on the other hand, you are beautiful. Okay?
You are the kind of man that any woman dreams about. Believe me.
In love with Ramon.
It's just a little crush, not like I'll fade every time we touch. Brown girl in the ring, tra la la la. There's a brown girl in the ring.
KBC, in collaboration with the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, is broadcasting enhanced out-of-class learning on radio, television, and on.
Welcome back to News Check on this Monday morning. It is the 20th day of July 2020. I am Daniel Wahome. Our sign language interpreter is Simon Karoda. We'll be getting into a conversation about a product we had for you over the weekend, the FA Cup semi-finals, with our regular analyst Gregory Mulemi. But before that, let us go over, to the coast and join our reporter Michael Mwandiga, where he is covering an event by the Wajomvu community, and they are at Jomvu Kuu, where they are holding demonstrations to protest against land grabbing by private developers. Over to you, Michael Mwandiga. Looks like we are getting through to Michael Mwandiga now. As you can see from the pictures, let us join Michael Mwandiga down in Mombasa. Well, looks like we've lost our signal from Michael Mwandiga. We will be getting through to him later during our broadcast. But we move straight to football. The conversation is about the FA Cup semi-finals. And we start with last night's match. Manchester United goalkeeper David De Gea. This man has been told that he's got, something almost like a magnet that works with leather. But last night, he was a living disaster. He moved from being De Gea to the Air. Basically, the howlers that saw him concede 2 goals, an own goal by Maguire. Bruno Fernandes scoring again a penalty for Manchester United. 3-1 they lost to Chelsea, but the impact was felt. The story and the photos in the British press have all been about David De Gea. Gregory, good morning. And first of all, your reaction to this game and overall, your take on David De Gea's performance, because everyone's asking, should Ole Gunnar Solskjaer have stayed with Cup specialist keeper Sergio Romero?
I think it's
Just a moment, Gregory. I'll let you go through, retake your thoughts to that. But right now, and let's keep up with Senator Johnston Sakaja, the Nairobi senator, who's at the Kilimani police station, where he is recording a statement after he was arrested 2 nights ago for flouting COVID-19 rules.
That question is almost rhetorical. But I agreed, and after speaking to my good friend, accompanied him here both as a lawyer and his colleague, and because he gave me that undertaking that he's willing to abide by the law, and he will come to record a statement or appear, because the sentiments over the weekend and this morning that he was running away or had disappeared was something that we needed to debunk this morning, because the people who are running that agenda wanted Sakaja to be handcuffed or brought here being pulled. So That's the reason I voluntarily agreed, both as his friend and a good lawyer in Kenya, to come here to accompany him for purposes of understanding what has exactly transpired that fateful Saturday morning. Thank you.
Senator Labda, I'm Pemba from Ebro TV. Senator Sakaji anasema kwamba wakati wa hiyo siku polisi wanasema ulizua vurugu baada ya kupiga hiyo kitu na watu wakawatishia kwamba kuna kazi.
Nafikiri mnanijua jamani. That is not my character. Sijatishia mtu. Sina nguvu ya kufuta mtu kazi ama kutransfer mtu. Ni vile ile mambo mengine ambayo iliendelea ndio ilinionyesha ni mambo mengine. Yeah? Yaani hadi hata kupigwa ngumi mimi. If it was just about being outside after 9, that would be one thing. So I think ni sawa. Kweli yote itatoka. But nafikiri vile nimesema ya kwamba sote tufuate maagizo. Mimi ni binadamu kama mtu yote mwingine, kama wewe. Hakuna mtu ambaye ni malaika. I'm not an angel. I'm law abiding. Sijai pelekwa kotini na kesi nyingine yoyote. Sijai bashi shilingi moja ya Mkenya. Amjai sikia skandali yote. Kuteleza tu. But hiyo sasa kuharass familia yangu, watoto wangu, 50 officers, you don't need 50 officers to arrest me, please. So hiyo ingine pia hiyo tuko nayo. Ya kwenda kotini kesho nitaenda kama Mkenya yoyote. Ni jisalimishe. But hiyo narrative ingine kwanza kusema sijui ladies lounge. There's no place called ladies lounge. Ndio wanataka kikae ni kama nilikuwa sijui nafanya nini. Hakuna mahali inaitwa hivyo. That place is along the street where I live, you know. But I think sisi ni viongozi, sisi ni wa Kenya. And with the advice of my lawyers and everybody else, na nashukuru wale wamekuwa na wasiwasi wananiuliza mambo iko sawa. Whatever else it is, because hata wale officers walikuja Subaru 5 usiku. Wale walikuja kuna mambo walisema. Kwa nini walikuwa wanafanya hivyo itajitokeza. Na I think mtaisikia. Kwa sasa wacha niachie hapo tafadhali. I have said I will present myself to court. I've asked to be shown what I'm being charged with. It's in violation of court orders. And I'm saying here it is true. I went against I'm not trying to make an excuse. There are many times, even when I'm oversighting, I move around. I have to go around the city and I see. But I can say on Friday it was not any official duty. I was not oversighting, I was not looking at what they're doing. I was on the wrong on that one, and I agree. And I'm sorry for that. But yote ingine, that around it we shall deal with everything else. Na nimejuzulu kwa hiyo kamati. Nitaendelea kufanya kazi watu wa Nairobi na watu wa Kenya. Asanteni.
Dad. Siku njema.
Siku njema.
Asanteni kwa kukuja kwa wingi.
Nairobi Senator Johnston Sakaja at the Kilimani police station, where he presented himself and also recorded a statement and says that he will be appearing in court tomorrow. And this is for flouting the COVID-19 regulations, together with Makueni Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr., who is now there in the role of Johnston Sakaja's attorney. Then Ben Troenjoy will have the full story on that in our subsequent bulletins. We get back to a conversation, and it's all about football and the package that we had for you over the weekend. Chelsea against Manchester United, Arsenal against Manchester City, and this is in the FA Cup. Semi-finals were played at Wembley, decided on the day, and had to go into extra time. And you got to enjoy it all on KBC Channel 1. Gregory Willemi is our analyst, and Manchester United goalkeeper David De Gea was the main story when it came to this. Basically, your assessment of what went down. David De Gea, quality goalkeeper, but last night was a total disaster.
I think it sums up his season. He's not had the best of seasons at United. You look at the number of errors he's committed, leading to goals or threats on the Manchester United goal. They've been way too much. I think it's not having quality competition, and I think it's a problem that we are witnessing right now. But fielding De Gea yesterday was the first mistake Ole Gunnar committed. He should have trusted Sergio Romero, who's been very good in the cup games and he's done a brilliant job. He has experience too, and when given the job, he's seen it done very well. Poor fielding, first of all, that was it.
And by the way, for David De Gea, he's a very good goalkeeper, but when it comes to Sergio Romero, he's good enough. And looking at how you pick a side for cup competitions, what gives Romero the edge over De Gea? Because the De Gea we know in the league is usually, at times, is not the fellow we get to see at knockout competitions.
I'll always say that Sergio Romero, even on the international stage, has been Argentine's top keeper for the last decade or so. And we've seen him come through the ranks, coming to United knowing that he will play as a second fiddle to one of the best keepers in the world. And that gives him that motivation. When he signed the contract, he knew that De Gea was there. He knew that when he was coming here, these are the number of games he was going to play. And that tells you that when given that chance, he gives his 100%. And we've seen him doing that over the years, helping them win the Europa League, such competitions. And these are things that I think if the coach was smart enough, he could have stuck to Sergio Romero. We've seen what Willy Caballero has done on the other side at Manchester City, now at Chelsea. These are keepers who have special, I think maybe it's the Argentine thing. The keepers have specialized in playing cup competitions because they know it's a one-off. So his level of concentration is more, rather even the focus is more into that single game than someone who's thinking maybe of playing West Ham the following week.
Now, the overall, the Chelsea side, the performance, with people like Mason Mount, Marcos Alonso, or all those, Hudson-Odoi, even though he fouled Anthony Martial. But overall, the performance of the Chelsea side on the night?
They just choked Manchester United, especially in the midfield. And I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer tried to play an Arsenal by deploying the 3-4-3 formation and not having the right players in midfield to complement that, because if Pogba was on the pitch, I think things could have been different. But his decision to rest Pogba, Greenwood, and Martial was not really going to pay off, because you look at the side that played, especially the side that was fielded by Lampard, that was a side that was serious of coming for a positive result. Remember, these are one-off. There's no away or home match, and that is where United got it wrong. Poor fielding, and then the formation from the start just got them off, and that's where Chelsea got the advantage.
And on Saturday night, Arsenal played against Manchester City, and for Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta, this was more important. He had said that before that, and he has to thank Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang for the 2 goals. But for Pep Guardiola, this was one moment where Murphy's Law came into place. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. Anything he tried to make work did not work.
It was just let's say, Arsenal were a recreation of Manchester City. Look at the kind of goals they scored. A typical Man City style of play. The elastic passes, patience in the build-up, and then switching the ball. And that's where Pepe came in handy. Switching the ball, especially knowing that Mendy and Kyle Walker was so much off on the night, and it's something that they took advantage of. Eric Garcia, just coming back from injury, wasn't really at 100% coming into this match. And Arteta knows very well the weaknesses of Manchester City. That is the flanks. They're really having a big problem, especially in the right flank, where Kyle Walker plays. He tends to go much forward, forgetting his defensive duties. And that's where Arteta capitalized on by deploying Aubameyang on the right. We've not known him to be so on the left, rather. We've not known Aubameyang to be someone who plays so much on the right. But on the night, that caught Pep Guardiola napping, and Arsenal just got it right through the night, working through 2 formations, that the 4-3 formation. Then in the second half, logging the midfield, adding 1 more midfielder in. That was it. Guardiola had no defense over it.
And overall, the impact for this, and for Arsenal, there is a story about it. Anytime they play against a holder at the semi-finals, they do win. What's this tournament got to do with the Arsenal? Because yes, multiple, and no one has won it more than them, but still they seem to breeze through and on and on.
They know that this is their only realistic chance of qualifying for Europe in the 2020-21 season. They have to give 100%. Arteta is one manager, I can say, he's learning well on the job. He's committed his mistakes along the way, but then he knows that they are in the 9th, 10th position in the league. They know that a cup competition, go win it, that is the FA Cup, that's a ticket to the Europa League, and it's something that he knows that this is our chance. And he knows that if we beat Manchester City, they had beaten Liverpool 4 days before. That shows that there was an extra confidence in the team, and he's getting his tactics right. And you see there's that feel-good factor that has come in the team, and you can see they're getting the results. Another important thing maybe is he might have told Aubameyang that, look here, if we win this FA Cup, then it means that we'll have some good and some feel-good factor in the future. Remember, Aubameyang has contractual issues with the team and is the captain of the team. So such victories really motivate such players, and maybe, who knows, he might be signing another deal in the near future.
Now, moving away from a quick take a look at that, remember that the FA Cup has been on your True Sports partner, KBC Channel 1 throughout, and the final will be played at the Wembley Stadium, and mark this date on the calendar, the 1st of August 2020. It's going to be live and free on KBC Channel 1. Do not miss the FA Cup final. It's going to be between the two London sides, Arsenal and Chelsea. Let's take a quick touch on some of these leagues, and it's the battle for survival. Norwich relegated in the EPL, but there's a case of Bournemouth and Aston Villa on 31 points. Bournemouth, the most number of points they can get is 31. We're talking about a team that, for Aston Villa, in as much as they've got 2 matches to go in 18th, Bournemouth, technically, after their 2-0 loss to Southampton yesterday, are going down.
So unfortunate, Bournemouth will be going down. It's a team that everyone loves watching, especially after our recent performances. It's a team that I can say is unlucky, just like Norwich. A very brilliant side with a very brilliant manager, good players. But then you look at the performances, especially at home, they've not been really convincing. And the loss to Southampton is one thing that not many expected, because personally I believe that they were going maybe to pull a draw because of the win last week. And it's something that they'll take on the chin. I think they've already resigned, because you look at Aston Villa, still have a chance, though they are facing a very difficult Everton side. You don't know how they'll come up with. Watford sacking their manager, Nigel Pearson. It's something that I don't think I expected that to happen at this time of the season.
They've got 2 matches to play, Watford, include
Crystal Palace and Chelsea.
Yes, Crystal Palace and Chelsea. And it's just not, the right feel, considering that they need 6 points to be safe, or 3 at the moment.
I don't know if they're bringing in a motivator or a coach, because I don't think you can change a philosophy over a 48-hour period.
We know what motivational speakers do. I mean, they basically, can tell you that you're a cat and you can behave like a lion at will.
Yeah, it's the same thing. You could even, if you read the club statement on the release of Nigel Pearson, it was short, precise, and straight to the point. And they said they're not going to comment further on that matter. Remember, these are manager who came in, I think, in January, and he posted very good results over that period before they started going into a slump. I can't blame him for the fortunes that have befallen this team. I can always blame the players, because Watford has very good players. And everyone was talking about them surviving when they beat Liverpool. That was a record they broke. But after that, they've really dropped so many points. It's something that maybe the next manager will be trying to look at. I hope they don't go into the championship.
What are the risks, when you find them and they're inherent, when you come in as a coach to help a team survive, but you find that the foundations are made of clay?
That's the problem that we've witnessed, not even in England, even locally, whereby you force a coach to come and try salvage a ship that is already sunk. It all depends.
Not even sinking, sunk.
Yeah.
This is a wreck.
It's a wreck. It's like a Titanic. You can't really manage to put it afloat. And it happens especially with the sides that normally perennial stragglers. You look at the West Hams, Watfords, Newcastle. At least this time around, they're on 43 points. These are sides that you can find the foundations are not really good, in that you find the club structures don't allow for major improvements, in that what they do is participate in the league and hope not to get relegated. get the money of participation.
Keep earning the 100 million
Yes.
from the TV.
That's it, the
pounds
TV
from
rights.
TV rights.
Yes, that's
and
what
any
you
other
do.
thing.
Yes, Bolton did that. When they got relegated, they've never come back. They've never gotten back into the English Premier League. And if Watford go the same way, then it will be a problem for them to come back. Look at Hull City. They are now bottom of. They've been relegated to League Two.
Well, now let's talk about Leeds United getting promotion. What's with Marco Bielsa over the 2 seasons? This coach has been said to be extremely crazy. He can pick a player from any club and analyze him for about 15 hours a day. What's their story? Do we expect them to have an impact next season, in the coming season, the way we've seen Sheffield do?
I'm not sure about that, let me be honest, because in the English Premier League, it's a different ball game, and you look at the dimensions right now are not the same as they were. But one thing I believe is that El Loco is one of the best tacticians around. When he won an award, a FIFA award, for letting the other team score in the name of fair play, people questioned why he did that. He told them that, I know this Leeds United side, it's a brilliant side, who can get promoted to the English Premier League, but they are not yet ready to go there. Give me another season, I'll bring them back. And it was a swift return. They are now back in the top flight. The Northwest is happy. Right now we have 3 big sides, that's Liverpool, Leeds, and the Manchester side, actually now 4. It now brings, the attention now shifts, because you can feel that volatile, let's say at Elland Road, the volatile atmosphere, something that people really missed for the last 11 years, and it's something that everyone is looking forward to. Leeds have the capability of strengthening their squad. They have a very good squad, but they have been over-relying on loanees. Right now it's to try get good players, because if these clubs recall some of the players that are playing there, then it will be a problem to fill the voids.
Let's move to Spain. La Liga came to a close over the weekend. Real Madrid convincing winners, 87 points, 5 over Barcelona. The question is, are we going to see Barcelona revive or rebuild? There are about 6 or 7 names, all over 30, in that Barcelona squad. And 6 years ago, they were just doing PlayStation football. The question is, what next for the Catalan
If
side?
you see Barcelona still bidding for players who are over 30, like Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, there's still a big problem. And Barcelona would not like to go the AC Milan way, the Manchester United way. They need to start rebuilding by getting good youngsters, just like Real Madrid did. They signed very good youngsters in the Castillo, and right now they're reaping the fruits of that. Barcelona is still going for, I don't know, Aubameyang, Pjanic. Those are players who can't win new titles. They can play good football, but not stretch it over a long period of time. And I think that's where the problem begins. Barcelona should just accept, right now it's not working for them, rebuild and make sure that maybe in the 3-4 seasons to come, they're back to where they were.
Real Madrid winning the title, and the question is, what's the magic of Zinedine Zidane?
He's been the coach at the Castillo. That's the Real Madrid B. Then he was under a very good coach under Carlo Ancelotti. Right now, he knows the system of Real Madrid. He knows the kind of players he needs to have in that team and make them winners. Who knew Mendy? Right now, is like a star. Look at the likes of Vinicius. These are players that Zidane scouted, made sure that he brought them through the youth ranks, brought them into the team, the likes of Asensio. These are players that he knew, let's say from 11 years old, coming them, and that's what modern managers should start adopting. Look at Lampard at Chelsea, the likes of Mason Mount. He went with him to Derby, came back with him, the likes of Tammy Abraham. These are the things that Zidane has done right, and it's really working for him.
Well, Gregory Mulemi, our resident analyst, giving us all the insights into football. And by the way, a quick one on the FA Cup final. Who's got the edge on this one? Do you think Chelsea will be comfortable with qualifying for Europe through the league? They've got 2 matches to go on 63 points. For Arsenal, they can't, getting into top 6, they can't be there.
Arsenal will be more hungrier. But then 2 brilliant managers, they played also almost at the same time, of both FA Cup winners. I think Arsenal have an edge heading into this final.
Gregory Mulemi, our resident football analyst, giving us his insights into La Liga, the story of Zinedine Zidane working at the Real Madrid Academy and develop them into stars. Barcelona, are they going to rebuild or still stay with established names? And also the look at the FA Cup semi-finals. Remember, on your True Sports partner, you will get to watch the final on the 1st of August, Chelsea against Arsenal. It has been a brilliant 2 hours for us here. Thank you to Julius Yego joining us from Eldoret and Cynthia Mumbo earlier, and Gregory. Thank you very much. Well, time for me to take the break. And my colleague Gladys Mungai is coming in on Tamrini. It's a Swahili magazine. It's coming up next. Our sign language interpreter has been Samun Karotha. And just before that, we had Susan Tuku. On behalf of the team that put together this bulletin, I want to say have a good day, and have a great afternoon.
Better though, Giroud at the near post. It's 1-0. Olivier Giroud on the stroke of half-time. First half stoppage time. An injury punctuated first half, a scrappy first half, but it's Chelsea who take the lead with Olivier Giroud. Lovely ball in. He gambled, got across his man and tickled it in.
Well, watch the movement from Olivier Giroud. Does really well to get across the front of the centre half, then using the outside of his left boot.
By David De Gea.
Wow.
It's 2-0.
Absolute howler from the goalkeeper here, and again it's sloppy. It's just a ball in from Williams and makes some mounts onto it again in a flash, and he thinks, why not? I might as well hit this. Hasn't scored in 26 matches, but he puts that one away, and the keeper is absolutely awful there. Really is staggering.
Well, two mistakes. Brandon Williams first, compounded by when Giroud came off the elbow of a defender. It's a good save by De Gea again. He comes across from Alonso. It's in again. It's Rudiger and Chelsea are heading to the FA Cup final. Manchester United 0, Chelsea 3. United simply haven't turned up at Wembley today, and Chelsea have been far too good for them. De Gea's had a nightmare, and Rudiger, who was brilliant in the 2018 final, has been superb again today and caps it off with their third goal.
Well, this is like Olivier Giroud in the first half. Makes the run across the defender.
That one has probably put paid to their chances of reaching the final. This will be Manchester United's first. No end product there. Come back to him, that's a penalty. Hudson-Odoi, a little bit clumsy. Martial went down, and it's going to get something out of the game. Bruno Fernandes against Caballero, stuttering run, and it's in the back of the net. So Manchester United have at least scored in this semi-final, a semi-final they will want to forget. It's Manchester United 1, Chelsea 3.
Well, he has that little stuttering run. I think he watches to see which way Caballero's weight.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
It's a different ball game. Online concerts, album releases, and virtual parties.
That's the new norm in the entertainment scene.
Corona or no corona, hii mwaka lazima zote litest.
Rock and roll on Grapevine.
Every Monday at 10 p.m.
Hali imekuwa ngumu, hakuna pesa kila kona, kila mtu unamdai naye anasingizia corona.